We got quattro left. That is how many chapters remain until the big 100. I'm so hyped. And I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna keep counting down the chapters we have left until that humongous milestone for Eden Zero, because it's important to count down when there's something important about to happen. And the Eden Zero chapter 100 is very important. Now, with the intro out of the way, it is time to fully delve into chapter 96, so let's get into it. So in this chapter, we get a little bit of a look into Weiss's backstory, and as much as I liked it, and I mean, I really liked it, I also wish that it was longer, bro, because with it being so short, I don't know, it didn't hit as hard for me as say something like Hamura's backstory. Now, it's not really fair to compare those two backstories because, I mean, for one, Hamura is like the main character of the Sun Jewel arc. She was heavily intertwined with it because it had to do with her master and also her mother, so it makes sense why this backstory wouldn't be as impactful or hit as hard as Hamura's backstory, because Weiss ain't the main character of this arc. But I still wish it was longer. It accomplished what it needed to do, but I needed more length. Pause. But now let me actually talk about said backstory. So it takes place 60 years ago on the planet Norma. And might I just add, I think planet Norma might be my favorite planet in Eden Zero, because I really like the landscape of it. I like the environment. But on this planet, we learn that the person that Drake and Joe had been sucking the life energy from that was so important to Weiss was Weiss's mom. I was originally thinking that it was going to be a lover, but I like this option way more, because it just makes the whole thing more emotional with it being his mom, and the fact that he's a kid on top of it is rough, bro. And on top of that, you got this little kid listening to these doctors basically saying since they don't know what is plaguing her, they can't help her, and she's gonna die. It pulls at the heartstrings, bro. And when this mom gives this final speech, it pulls a little bit harder. She's talking about, when I'm gone, I want you to stay strong and live a good life. You've never been good at making friends, so I worry. Stay safe. But then the speech, it gets a little bit preachy, because when Weiss is crying saying, hey mom, don't leave me, she's like, you won't ever be alone. You have another mother in this cosmos. And she's talking about like the giant mother. But anyways, we then go back to current day, and Weiss is trying his very hardest to combat Drake and Joe, but everything that he does absolutely nothing. Drake and Joe is completely unscathed by the explosions and the bullets. They're just nothing to him. And Weiss, unfortunately, isn't really adapting to the fact that Drake and Joe isn't taking any damage. But hey, even though Weiss is being a little bit dumb here because he's overcome with rage, he still gives off a really cool speech. He says, dozens more people on Norma died, weakened by an unknown illness just like my mom. They died because you sucked their life force away. So many people had to suffer for your selfishness, and you're gonna feel their pain. It's a sick speech, but the attack that he was doing while he was saying that speech just gets caught by Drake and Joe. And then Drake and Joe just converts the Arsenal suit into an explosion. So now Weiss's suit is completely gone, okay? Arsenal is canonically dead, which means it's time for Arsenal Mark II. But then Drake and Joe starts talking about Weiss's arm, and you know that's never a good thing because Drake and Joe is responsible for cutting this dude's arm off so many times in so many different worlds. And he even turns his arm into a blade and he goes to slash it down at Weiss, but then we get another backstory. This time, Weiss is much older, and he's talking with Sabir about this pendant that he has from his dead mom. He also goes on to explain how he got his ether gear, and the explanation is really weird and really interesting, because he just says that he bought a robot, and that robot knew a whole bunch of stuff, and then that robot taught him how to use the ether gear. But then he totaled his teacher. I think it's weird because it's a little bit random. He just bought this robot that by chance knew how to help him develop an ether gear. But moving on, the backstory then fast forwards a little bit, and Weiss is furious because he thinks that Sabir stole his pendant, because Sabir was the only one that Weiss told about the pendant. And Sabir is like, bro, we may be thieves, but we don't steal from each other. What are you talking about? We're a crew. We don't do this. And then Weiss is like, you ain't my crew, bro. And he gives a pretty angry face. And then it's hinted that some random dude just stole his pendant. And then that dude walks away silently. But Sabir is like, hey, if you don't want to be a part of the crew, then get out. You a punk. But then he also tells Weiss that he thought that they were friends. And Weiss replies screaming, I don't have any friends. Don't you forget this. Next time, I'm going to steal something you care about. I wonder if Weiss was the catalyst that just made Sabir kind of like go over the edge. But back to the actual story. So the chapter then goes back to the present day yet again, and it turns out that Drake and Joe was unsuccessful in cutting off Weiss's arm, thankfully, but I still think that this dude is going to lose that arm by the end of this arc. But he was saved by Shiki, and Shiki tells him you need to calm down and you need to think. Bro, if Shiki is telling you to calm down and think, you know you're acting dumb. And then we get this nice little moment where Weiss he's acting a bit tsundere, bro. He's saying, I didn't ask for help, and then Shiki replies, but a friend gives it anyway. And Weiss is accepting of this, and it really shows the progression of this character. Now with the sentimental stuff out of the way though, Weiss and Shiki are ready to do battle, but Draken kinda looks like he isn't because he just slumps over, bro, and he is in some pain. And that's because Hermit has been successful in reversing the machine. And now Drake and Joe is being severely weakened, and his ether levels are dropping, but he starts changing and shifting into this abomination. And bro, might I also just add, is this supposed to be Drake and Joe weakened? Because he looks more fearsome than ever. But anyways, thank you all very much for watching. I hope that you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Peace out, everybody. Yeah! Also, let me know in the comment section down below, do you like the progression of Drake and Joe's forms? Just a quick question. Anyways, bye.